For 3 years, David Hassan sat behind a desk in the lobby of Clearview Towers, a luxury apartment building in the heart of the city. 12 stories, 87 units, residents who paid more in monthly rent than most people earned in a year. Every night from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., David watched the security cameras, signed for packages, buzzed in late-night arrivals, made his rounds through empty hallways. And every single night, the residents walked past him like he was invisible. Until the night of March 8th. The night a fire broke out on the 9th floor at 2:47 a.m. The night 47 people realized that the man they'd never bothered to see, the man one resident had actually reported to management for looking suspicious while wearing his own uniform, was the only thing standing between them and death. But here's what no one knew. David Hassan hadn't always been a security guard. He'd been a firefighter, a decorated one, until the night a warehouse fire took 3 of his crew members and left him with wounds no one could see. For 3 years, he'd hidden from his past, from the flames, from the memories. But on March 8th, the past found him, and 47 people, including the woman who'd tried to get him fired, were about to discover who he really was. This is the story of the man nobody saw until the moment they needed him most. Clearview Towers, luxury apartments, marble lobby, floor-to-ceiling windows, the kind of place where doormen wear suits and residents expect perfection. David Hassan was not a doorman. He was overnight security. The distinction mattered to the residents, even if they never said it out loud. He was 42 years old, tall, broad shoulders that suggested a physical past, dark eyes that seemed to be always scanning, assessing, watching. He spoke rarely, smiled less, did his job and nothing more. The residents knew almost nothing about him. They didn't know his last name was Hassan, not the security guy. They didn't know he was a veteran. They didn't know he'd served for 8 years as a firefighter before this job. They didn't know why he'd stopped. To them, David was a uniform, a function, the man who sat at the desk and made sure their packages didn't get stolen, the man who was supposed to keep them safe, but who they fundamentally didn't trust. Especially Mrs. Rebecca Winters, Unit 907, 9th floor. Rebecca was 63, retired attorney, lived alone, had opinions about everything, and voiced them frequently at building meetings. 6 months ago, she'd filed a formal complaint with building management. "I don't feel safe with that security guard," she'd written. "He sits there in the dark sometimes, just watching the cameras. And the other day, I came down at 2 a.m., and he was standing by the stairwell, not at his desk. He looked, I don't know, suspicious. I think we should run another background check, or find someone else." Management had investigated. David's record was spotless. Former military, former firefighter, honorable discharge, clean background check, no issues. They dismissed her complaint. But Rebecca hadn't forgotten, and she made sure David knew it. Every time she walked through the lobby, she'd glance at him with barely concealed distrust, never said hello, never acknowledged him beyond a curt nod. David noticed. He noticed everything. But he said nothing, just did his job. Every night at 10 p.m. he'd arrive, check in with the evening shift, review the day's incident log, boot up the security system, and settle into his chair behind the desk. And watch. 47 apartments, 87 residents, 12 floors. He knew who came home late, who had guests at odd hours, who left for early morning runs, who ordered food delivery at 3 a.m. He knew the elderly man on the 4th floor had arthritis and struggled with his keys. He knew the young couple on the 7th floor was expecting a baby. He knew the woman on the 10th floor was going through a divorce and sometimes cried in the parking garage. He knew all of this because he paid attention. But no one paid attention to him until they had to.
March 8th, 2:31 a.m. David was making his rounds. He did this every night, walked each floor, checked the stairwells, tested door locks, made sure everything was secure. He was on the 7th floor when he smelled it. Smoke. Faint, most people wouldn't have noticed, but David had spent 8 years of his life training to notice smoke, to identify it, to track it. His body went rigid. He closed his eyes, breathed slowly, steadied himself. It's nothing, probably just someone's cooking or a cigarette. But his training kicked in anyway. He moved toward the stairwell, following the smell. It was stronger there, coming from above. 8th floor? No, 9th floor. David's heart rate spiked. His hands started to shake slightly. Not now, not here. He pushed open the stairwell door to the 9th floor and saw it. Smoke. Thin wisps seeping from under the door of Unit 903. For a moment, just a moment, David froze. He was back in the warehouse 3 years ago, flames everywhere, radio screaming, his captain yelling orders, the sound of the building groaning. The moment he realized his crew was trapped, the moment No. He forced himself back to the present, pulled out his radio. "This is security. I have smoke coming from Unit 903, 9th floor. Activating fire alarm and calling 911, initiating evacuation procedures." He pulled the fire alarm. The building erupted in sound, piercing, mechanical screaming, strobe lights flashing in the hallways. David pulled out his phone, dialed 911. "Fire emergency. Clearview Towers, 445 Broadway, 9th floor, Unit 903. Smoke visible. I'm evacuating the building now. Units are on the way. ETA 12 minutes. Are residents evacuating?" 12 minutes. David looked down the hallway. Doors were opening. People stumbling out in pajamas, confused, annoyed. "Is this a drill?" someone called out. "This is not a drill," David said firmly. "There's smoke on this floor. You need to evacuate now." That got their attention. But as David moved through the 9th floor, knocking on doors, making sure everyone was awake, he realized something. Not everyone was coming out. By 2:43 a.m., most of the building was evacuating, but the smoke was getting worse. David ran back to Unit 903. The door was hot to the touch. He could hear something inside, a crackling sound. The smoke coming from under the door was now thick, black. The fire was spreading. He pulled out his radio. "Fire is active in Unit 903. Smoke is heavy. All residents need to evacuate immediately." His training was coming back. Instincts he buried for 3 years were surfacing. He moved quickly down the hallway, pounding on doors. "Fire department is on the way. Everyone out. Use the stairs." Unit 905. Empty. Door open. Residents already gone. Unit 907. Rebecca Winters' unit. He knocked, hard. "Rebecca Winters, you need to evacuate." No answer. He tried the handle. Locked. He pulled out his master key. Security had access to all units for emergencies. Opened the door. "Rebecca Winters!" The apartment was dark, quiet, and empty. She wasn't home. Relief washed over him. He turned to leave, and then stopped. There was smoke coming from the vents. The fire was in the walls, spreading through the building's ventilation system. This was bad. He ran back to the stairwell. The smoke was thicker now, filling the hallway. He pulled his shirt over his mouth and nose. "Everyone needs to move faster," he yelled down the stairwell. "The fire is spreading." He could hear sirens in the distance, still several minutes away. David moved to the 8th floor. Most residents were gone, but he saw an elderly woman struggling down the hallway, using a walker. He ran to her. "Let me help you." "I can't move fast," she panicked. "My walker." "Leave it, I've got you." He lifted her. She weighed almost nothing and carried her down the stairs. Her neighbor, a younger man, helped support her. "Take her to the lobby," David told him. "Make sure she gets outside." He ran back up. 7th floor, 6th floor, checking doors, making sure no one was left behind. His lungs were burning. The smoke was everywhere now. The sprinkler system had activated, soaking everything, but the fire was still growing. And then he heard it. A sound from the 9th floor. Banging, muffled, someone pounding on a door. Someone was still up there.
David ran back up to the 9th floor. The smoke was thick, black, toxic. He couldn't see more than a few feet ahead. The banging was coming from Unit 911, the end of the hallway. He ran toward it, coughing, eyes watering. "I'm coming! Hold on!" He reached the door, pounded back. "Can you hear me?" A voice, panicked, elderly. "The door's stuck. I can't get it open." Male voice. David tried to remember who lived in 911. Mr. and Mrs. Patel, both in their 70s. He'd seen them in the lobby. They always smiled at him, one of the few couples who did. "Step back from the door," David yelled. He kicked it, once, twice. The door was jammed. The heat from the fire had warped the frame. Third kick. The door splintered but didn't open. The smoke was overwhelming now. David could barely breathe. His eyes burned. He was coughing uncontrollably. And then the memories hit. The warehouse. 3 years ago. He was inside, searching for his crew. Smoke everywhere. He couldn't find them. Couldn't breathe. The ceiling groaning. The ceiling starting to collapse. The moment he realized he had to leave them behind or die with them. The moment he ran. The moment he survived and they didn't. David's hands were shaking. His vision was blurring. He couldn't tell if it was the smoke or the panic attack. "Not now, not now, not now." He kicked the door again, harder. It gave way. Mr. Patel stumbled out, coughing, his wife behind him, clutching his arm. "Come on!" David grabbed them both, supporting Mrs. Patel, who could barely walk. They moved toward the stairwell. The smoke was so thick now that David could barely see. He was navigating from memory. 10 steps to the stairwell. 9, 8. Behind them, he heard glass shattering. The fire had reached the windows. 5 steps. 4. Mrs. Patel collapsed. I can't breathe." "Yes, you can," David said. He picked her up. She was small, frail. He could carry her. Mr. Patel was coughing violently, but moving. 2 steps. They reached the stairwell door. David pushed it open and stopped. Someone else was there, sitting on the stairs, coughing, disoriented. Rebecca Winters. She looked up at him, eyes wide with terror and confusion. I came back. I forgot my medication. I came back and the door locked behind me, and I couldn't get out." David stared at her. The woman who'd reported him, who'd tried to get him fired, who'd looked at him with suspicion and distrust for 6 months. She was trapped, panicking, crying, and she was looking at him like the only person in the world who could save her. For one moment, David Hassan stood at that threshold. Mr. and Mrs. Patel were already moving down the stairs, coughing but mobile. They'd make it out. Rebecca Winters sat on the landing, unable to move, eyes pleading. Behind him, the fire was roaring. The 9th floor was fully engulfed. He could feel the heat on his back. In front of him, a woman who'd never trusted him, never respected him, tried to destroy his livelihood because she didn't like the way he looked. He had seconds to decide. Every instinct told him to leave her, not out of cruelty, but out of survival. He could barely breathe. His legs were shaking. The PTSD was overwhelming him. He could feel the warehouse closing in around him again. If he stayed to help her, he might not make it out himself. But David Hassan wasn't the kind of man who left people behind. Not anymore. Not ever again. He moved toward Rebecca, crouched down. "Can you stand?" She shook her head, crying. "My leg, I think I twisted it." He didn't hesitate. He lifted her. She was heavier than Mrs. Patel. His arms screamed. His lungs burned. His vision was spotted with black. "Hold on to me," he said. She wrapped her arms around his neck. He could feel her trembling. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." "Save your breath. We're getting out." He started down the stairs. 1 step, 2 steps. His legs were shaking. The smoke was everywhere now, even in the stairwell. He couldn't see, couldn't breathe. 5th floor, 4th floor. Rebecca was coughing against his shoulder. He could feel her breathing, shallow, rapid, panicking. "Stay with me," he said. "We're almost there." 3rd floor. His vision was darkening. He stumbled, caught himself against the wall. 2nd floor. Behind them, he heard an explosion, windows blowing out. The fire had reached the gas lines. 1st floor. He burst through the door into the lobby. Fresh air, sirens, flashing lights. Firefighters were rushing in. "We've got them," someone yelled. Hands reached for Rebecca, pulled her away from him. Paramedics surrounded her. David collapsed to his knees, coughing, gasping for air. A firefighter crouched next to him. "Hey, buddy, you okay? Let's get you some oxygen." David looked up at him. Recognition flickered in the firefighter's eyes. "Wait, Hassan! David Hassan!" David nodded weakly. "Holy shit! Guys, this is Hassan. He used to be one of ours."
By 4 a.m., the fire was contained. No one died. No one was seriously injured. 47 residents stood outside in the street, wrapped in blankets, watching their building smoke against the dawn sky. And all of them were talking about the security guard they'd never noticed. The paramedics had checked David over. Smoke inhalation, minor burns on his hands, exhaustion, but he was alive. He sat on the back of an ambulance, oxygen mask on his face, watching the firefighters work. Captain Rodriguez approached him, older man, gray hair. He'd been David's captain 3 years ago. "Hassan." David pulled off the oxygen mask. "Captain." Rodriguez sat down next to him. "I heard you went in there, pulled out at least 6 people, including the last 3 from the 9th floor. Just doing my job." "Like hell. That wasn't security guard work. That was firefighter work." Rodriguez paused. "Why'd you go back in?" David was quiet for a long moment. "Because I couldn't leave them." Rodriguez nodded slowly, understanding what he meant, understanding the weight of those words. "You saved them all, Hassan. Every single one." David looked at the building, at the residents huddled together, at Rebecca Winters, sitting with paramedics, looking at him. "They're the ones I could save," he said quietly. Rodriguez put a hand on his shoulder. "You couldn't save Martinez, Chen, and Bishop that night. The warehouse was a death trap. You did everything you could. I left them. You survived. There's a difference." Rodriguez stood up. "You know, we've got openings if you ever want to come back. The department could use someone like you." David didn't answer. By 7 a.m., the news crews had arrived. Security guard saves 47 residents in apartment fire. Former firefighter turned security guard rescues entire building. Hero in hiding, the man they never noticed. The reporters wanted interviews. The residents wanted to thank him. The building management wanted to give him a raise, a promotion, a recognition. David wanted to go home. But before he could leave, Rebecca Winters approached him. She was limping slightly, leaning on a borrowed cane. Her face was streaked with soot and tears. "Mr. Hassan," he turned. "Mrs. Winters." She stood there for a moment, unable to speak. Then the words came out in a rush. "I reported you 6 months ago. I said I didn't feel safe with you. I said you looked suspicious. I tried to get you fired." "I know. I was wrong. I was so wrong. I judged you. I never even tried to know you. I saw your name and I made assumptions and I..." She was crying now. "You saved my life. You saved all of us, and I almost cost you your job." David looked at her.
This woman who'd caused him so much stress, who'd made him feel like he didn't belong, who'd looked at him with fear and suspicion for 6 months. He could have been angry. He could have made her feel worse. But David Hassan wasn't that kind of man. "You were scared," he said simply. "People do things when they're scared. It's okay." "It's not okay." "No, I agree. But you're safe. That's what matters." Rebecca wiped her eyes. Can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Why did you come back for me? You knew what I did. You could have left me there." David was quiet for a moment. "I used to be a firefighter. 3 years ago, there was a fire, a warehouse. 3 of my crew members didn't make it out. I had to leave them behind to survive. That decision, it broke something in me. I couldn't do the job anymore, couldn't face the flames, couldn't face myself." He looked at the building, still smoking. "Tonight, I had a choice. I could run from the fire again, or I could run into it. And I realized something. I wasn't running into that building to save you. I was running in to save myself, to prove that I could still do what I was trained to do, that I hadn't lost everything that night in the warehouse." He met her eyes. "You didn't deserve to die because of your fear, and I didn't deserve to live with more guilt. So I went back." Rebecca stood there, crying openly now. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for seeing past what I did. Thank you for giving me a reason to face my fear."
6 months later, David Hassan stood in front of a training class at the city's fire academy. 23 recruits, young faces, eager, nervous, ready to learn. "My name is Captain David Hassan," he said, "and I'm going to teach you something they don't usually cover in firefighter training. How to come back after you've lost everything." The classroom was silent. 3 years ago, I lost 3 members of my crew in a warehouse fire. For 3 years, I couldn't face a fire, couldn't wear the uniform, couldn't be the person I'd trained my whole life to be. He paused. And then one night, a building caught fire, and I had a choice: run away from my fear or run into it. I ran in, and I realized something. Being a hero isn't about never being afraid. It's about doing what's right, even when you're terrified. One recruit raised her hand. "How did you know you were ready to come back?" David smiled slightly. "I didn't. I just knew that people needed help. And that's the job. Not when it's easy, when it's hard." After class, David walked through the firehouse. His firehouse. He was back. Captain Rodriguez had personally asked him to return, to train new recruits, to share his story. On his way out, he passed the memorial wall. 3 names engraved in bronze: Captain Michael Martinez, Lieutenant Sarah Chen, Firefighter James Bishop. He stopped, placed his hand on the wall. "I'm back," he said quietly. "I made it back." David Hassan spent 3 years being invisible, working overnight shifts, avoiding the job he loved, hiding from his past. The residents of Clearview Towers walked past him every single night and never saw him, never knew who he was, never asked, until the night they needed him most. And then, in the smoke and flames, they finally saw him. Not as the security guard, not as the man they made them uncomfortable, but as the firefighter he'd always been, the hero he'd never stopped being. Hidden heroes aren't always the people who've never fallen. Sometimes they're the people who fell, broke, and found a way to stand again. They're the people who face their worst fears because someone else needs them to. They're the people who save others while saving themselves. David Hassan saved 47 people that night.
but the person he really saved was himself. This is Hidden Heroes. If David's story moved you, subscribe for more stories about the people who change lives in silence and the moments when their silence breaks. Tell us in the comments, have you ever had to face your greatest fear to help someone? What happened? Because sometimes being a hero means being afraid and doing it anyway.